guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing my next TBR video. If you don't know, I do TBRs based on the quarter rather than the month just because it's easier for me because it gives me room to read other things. It gives me time to get these in and not have to worry about constantly talking about the same books over and over and over again. So this kind of remedies that. I do want to note that my voice does sound garbage. I'm getting over some sinus stuff. It's fine. We actually sound better than we have. So if it gets on our nerves, I'm so sorry. It gets on my nerves too. But this video's got to go out Friday. So here we are. So the first one I want to talk about is Of Darkness and Light. This is book 2 to Ryan Cahill's series. Like, I don't remember what it's actually called. The first one is Of Blood and Fire, and we're following Kalen. And Kalen is just your typical farm boy who is trying to become a man, and him and his friends are kind of thrust into this adventure where they're being chased by like the nation's soldiers. They're having to go cross country with people that they don't even know. They're having to band together in order to save themselves and just kind of like figure out life basically because they can't go home. You know, it's that kind of story. It's very Aragon-esque. We have dragons and dwarves and giants and elves. Like, it is very much reminiscent of Aragon, and I am here for it. The first one was a great time. I read it like last year, so I really need to read the second one. So the second one is picking up where we left off in the first one, and can't really share because, you know, spoilers. But if you liked Aragon at all, I definitely recommend picking up this first one. Now, be warned, as the series goes, apparently it gets away from the Aragon inspiration. So it's not fully like Aragon. So it only gets you through like the first book. But I had a great time with this. I think like the character dynamics were really good. It has all the things that I love in a traditional fantasy where you have this like young boy who is learning how to sword fight and growing into a man, and he builds all these friendships and like this found family, and he's got a couple of friends who like go on this adventure with him, so he has like a taste of home, and it's just everything I love in like that type of fantasy. So highly recommend picking up the first one. This next one is definitely a YouTube darling that I have definitely been sleeping on, and that is Empire of the Vampire. This one, I don't entirely know what's happening. All I know is that we're following this dude, Gabriel. He's some sort of silver saint, and he hunts vampires. That's all that I know. I didn't even know Silver Saint was a thing until I was reading the description for this book, and I was like, oh, that's where that comes from. So, had no idea. But from my understanding of the description, we are following Gabriel as he is like retelling his story. I guess he's like imprisoned and he's telling his story for whatever reason. So like the book is like his story. I don't know. I also have heard that it's like all night or something. Like there's no more daylight. And so the vampires kind of just like rule the land. That's the extent that I know. I don't know anything else. So I guess we'll find out together what it's about. Actually, honestly, you probably know what it's about. I'm probably the only one who doesn't know at this point. I don't entirely know how I feel about vampires. I think I'm kind of over vampires. I don't really read anything with vampires in them anymore. I don't even know that I really watch anything with vampires either, outside of like Vampire Diaries. I think that's about all that I watch. So I don't know. But I've heard really good things about this. Everyone really seems to love it. So it seems like now is a good time to give it a try. Okay, this next one, I've not heard a ton of people talking about. Only Mike from Mike's Book Reviews have I heard talk about this. This is Blackmouth, and he loves this book. And I'm trying to read more horror, and I think this is one of my priority reads. At the very least, one of my goals is to read more horror, so this checks that box. But my only fear is that it's a lot like it, like that's how it's pitched, and I didn't like it. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going in with an open mind. I'm going to give it a try. So essentially, we have this dude who has this like childhood trauma with his friends, and he's now an adult, and for whatever reason he has to go back and confront whatever it was that happened when he was a child. The description talks about them having made a choice and done something, and he's had to live with that for his life, and now he's going back home and having to deal with that. There's some sort of like magic that they were taught as children, so I don't know how that's going to come into play. I don't know anything else other than it's very coming of age and it's very similar to it. So here's hoping. This next one I have talked about on the channel before. This is going to be Famous Last Words. This one, we are following this woman who woke up one day and her husband had left for work and she's watching TV. I think she's at home with her child, like young child. And her husband's on the TV and his job is being like held hostage. And it turns out that like he is the one holding the job hostage. No idea why, no idea what happened. All we know is that when she woke up and like I guess she found around the house or whatever, she found a letter from him, but I guess it was like very vague and she didn't have a clue what was happening. Apparently she wasn't in on this at all. She didn't know he was going to do this. And so I think from what I've heard, we are spending some of the story dealing with that, and then we spend more of the story dealing with the aftermath and how I guess everything's kind of been affected by his choices, which I don't know. I think at first I was a little like, do I really want to read that then? Because I wanted to know about like that day and like what was happening and like the events that led to that. But I also really enjoy stories that talk about like the after effect and how places have been affected by things like, there's a book, The Hate List, Jennifer Brown, where we are following this girl who her boyfriend was a school shooter, and we're following her in the aftermath of everything. So how do people respond to her and things like that? And I love that. So I rethought my opinion, and I think that us following the aftermath in this one, if that's what we're doing, I think that it'll actually be really intriguing for me because I do love that sort of storyline. And I think that that's the part that doesn't really get told a ton. And I think that's why I like it, because everyone really wants to talk about like the day of and like what happens and the events leading to it. But we don't always talk about the after. And I think that that's going to be really cool. So hopefully I like this. I've only heard like one other person read it and they were kind of like meh on it. So I don't know, but we'll see. And then the last one is going to be a reread for me because I have not read this book since high school. And I think about this book all the time and I really need to reread it. And I don't remember a whole lot about the details. I only remember the big twist at the end. And I don't think I'm even right about that anymore. So in this one, we're following this lady, June, and she is dealing with her life being a pain, like grieving, like things are really, really difficult in her life. She has a lot of hurt and she's waiting for justice and she's waiting for healing, basically. Why? I don't remember. And it doesn't say in the description. But we also have this dude, Shay, who is looking for some sort of second chance. And I know that their stories intersect and that he offers June some sort of healing, opportunities for healing of some sort, and she can either take it or not, and she doesn't want to take it because she hates him. So the story is about what do you do when you only want one thing in life, and the one person who can grant that, you absolutely hate. And by granting them that opportunity, you're giving them like their dying wish, like their one wish. So, like, what do? Do you be stubborn in that moment and not allow them to do this one thing that they want to do? Or do you sacrifice yourself and the things that you love to deny this person this opportunity? And that's all that I remember. And I only remember that because of the synopsis that I'm looking at currently. So I could be very wrong. I may read this and be so surprised by what happens because I don't remember much about it at all. I just remember that it really touched me, and the ending of it was so surprising. It has stayed with me for 15 years. So it is definitely time to reread this. All right, guys. So that's my list. Just 5 books that I'm going to read in the next 3 months. I have been doing pretty good with getting my 5 priority reads. As of right now, I am finishing Best Served Cold, which was the last of the list that I had from the first set, except for When in Truth, I started it, but I didn't finish it in time, and so I'm waiting on the audiobook to come back. So I guess it's like 4.5 or something. Close enough, right? Well, what books are you reading in the next couple of months? What are you currently reading? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.